Should I order some other fruit? Does she like anything else?
Om Shanti, good morning. Good evening.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Good morning.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
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 Good morning.
It's a beautiful, the sun has just appeared here.
Very good morning.
Good morning. Yeah. The sun has just appeared here and it feels so nice. And second day of August. So welcome to the month of August. August is a special month. It's a month to make and live some promises for our inner work, for our inner journey. And this thought was just coming last few days about silence and how there is so much transformation that takes place in silence. And so the thought was to share and discuss about silence and understand how silence works, and then try and get deeper into silence to experience it and to allow it to transform the self. And so the science of silence, whenever we go into the nature or just watch a sunrise or a sunset, or we just take a morning or an evening walk, we feel so silent. Or we just sit on a besides a river, on the side of a river, or just walk on a beach. We feel so silent. And the moment we go into the nature, it's like that there's something that deep within shifts and takes us into the unlimited. Whenever the mind is in the limited, then there is some noise, some chatter. And when the mind is in unlimited, then there is silence. And silence is something that heals and transforms. It's like when the soul rests, then transformation happens. Just same like in the body, whenever there's something wrong in the body, we say, take a pill and just rest. And then the body will heal automatically. Just because when we are resting, the automatic processes of the body heal the body. In the same way, when the soul is completely at rest, then the soul feels relaxed and the soul feels healed from within. So going deep into the experience of silence. We say to be silent allows us to listen. So the word silent and listen. So when I'm silent, I'm able to listen. Listen to my own self. And so when we talk about the science of silence, it's like science is all based on, the principles of science are based on cause and effect. Whether it is medical science or whether it is engineering or any field, it's all based on understanding the law of cause and effect. And so to understand the law of cause and effect in silence or in spirituality, what creates my thoughts, what is the effect, and how do I then change? And good thing about science is, in science, when something is kind of proved in science, then there is no doubt about it. It is considered to be truth. And so in silence, when I've experimented and when I've understood, then I'm able to come to a level where I just feel it as truth. And then when I feel it as truth, then I realize, and then I can transform. So silence allows me, and understanding the science of silence allows me to understand truth, and then to realize it, and then to transform. And so we'll try and go deeper into silence. Can you see the screen properly?
Yes, we can.
So the science of silence. There's so many laws in science, and every law allows us to understand about the world outside. Whether it's the law of gravity, the law of motion, or Newton's third law, or the law of conservation of energy, or the law of conversion of mass into energy. And all these laws allow us to understand about the world outside. And in the same way, the science of silence allows us to understand the world inside. The world inside. When I've understood the world inside, then I can easily go within and experience silence. So at this time, if we see in the world, there is a power of science that is making our life externally very easy. Even this technology we are using, it has made our life so easy. And when I understand the inner science, then it allows my mind to be easy, my thoughts to be easy. And I can easily operate from the experience of myself. So the science, external science, is the science to understand the world, outside world. And inner science is the science to understand the inner world. And so I've always felt that even in my spiritual journey, the more I have tried to understand the depths of silence through through scientific principles, and it allows me to go deeper and get more experience. The silence is not an absence, but a presence. Generally, we feel that silence is absence of sound, it's the absence of movement, absence of any expansion. But silence is more than that. It's about presence. Presence of my true self. Presence of the divine energy. And when I'm completely silent, then I feel the presence, a very warm and unconditional presence of the Supreme. And that presence heals my mind. So to be silent is to then be present. And that's why when the mind is silent, it can be present in this moment. When the mind is not silent, then I'm not present. Then I'm either, thinking past or future, not in the present. So when I'm silent, I'm in the present. And I can feel the presence of the spiritual being that is there within. So silence is very soothing and relaxing. Silence allows me to feel the presence of the spiritual, eternal, constant energy. If the mind is busy, then I ignore this energy. So right now, let us just bring our mind in the present. Experience silence. Just disconnecting from the world outside, being silent. And we feel the presence of this warm, loving, glowing light. That is shining beautifully. And I just acknowledge the presence of this energy. When there is silence, one finds the anchor of the universe within oneself. It's like anchor. It's what holds me together, is the anchor. So when I am silent, then I feel the presence and experience this subtle spiritual energy that then anchors me. And the whole universe within me, it's like my inner world, finds an anchor and a compass that gives me direction. the importance of anchor in my life. Anchor holds. So in the same way, silence holds. So when I come into expression, it is the expansion. But what holds the expansion is the essence, which is silence. Silence is the essence of life. Just like when we travel up, there's more and more silence. When we go to space, there's so much more silence. And in the same way, when I go into my inner space, then I begin to experience deeper, deeper, and deeper silence. And that research, inner research, then allows me to access that part of energy that seldom is sleeping. So to become awake to that part of my being. Taking time to do nothing often brings everything into perspective. Taking time to do nothing often brings everything into perspective. Like doing nothing. Silence is doing nothing. And when I'm doing nothing, then I'm being everything. I'm being myself. It's like, so there are two energies, the soul and the role of the body. And the soul has come into this role and interacts with the world through the physical organs. So doing means interacting. So seeing is doing, right? Speaking is doing, listening is doing. But these sense organs are a medium for the soul to connect with the world outside. But then what happens is when these organs start to take information from outside, and then the mind starts to get cluttered, this is when the silence, the original silence, is disturbed. And when we say doing nothing, it means not engaging in the physical senses or the body. And then it brings everything into perspective. You know, when there is noise, then it is difficult to listen properly. And so, in the same way, the noise of the mind is created when I have consumed the external world through the senses. So doing nothing is when I just disengage from the external, just come into my zone of who I really am and just live it. Just live it. And then from that space, then everything comes into perspective. That's the soul conscious perspective. So just take a moment right now to disengage. Disengage from the physical world. So I turn inwards. I turn my senses inwards. So I look within. I listen to my inner voice. And I speak from that experience. It's like making all my senses introverted. And then going into the silence. Then gently coming back. So principles of signs and silence. So if we look at each principle and understand, let us take, for example, the law of gravity. The law of gravity means that wherever there is mass and it is in a gravitational field, the gravity will pull it towards itself. In the same way, whenever there is, in this case, we say, wherever there is any, here mass represents like, we say, a form of, we say ego, right? Any internal resistance is ego. And then when the ego is large, then the gravitational force is larger. So law of gravity in the physical world. So when the ego is less, when I become ego-less, there is no ego, then I don't feel any pull. Then I don't feel any pull from the external world. Today we were discussing in the morning about the words swabhav and prabhav. The Hindi word swabhav means my original nature, and prabhav means influence from the external world. So there will be prabhav when there is ego, because the ego will be pulled by gravity or the pull of the world of illusion. But when I have zero ego, there is no ego at all, then there will be no influence. I won't be pulled. Let's take another law, which is the third law of Newton's third law. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So in the same way, it is the law of karma. The energy that I send to the drama, to the life, comes back to me. So let me just send pure positive energy to the life. the energy of the soul. When I send energy of the soul, then I get that back in return. The energy of love, the energy of compassion. We look at the law of conservation of energy, which means that energy is not created nor destroyed, it just changes the form. And so the soul, the energy, is always conserved, means it cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed. And so when I understand that I am eternal, and I have taken this costume for a short amount of time, short period of time, then I realize that there is no fear. There is no fear, because I am eternal and everyone else is eternal. In the law of, we were talking about it a few days back, the transformation of mass into energy. It's the Einstein's equation, E equals to mc squared. It is basically mass can be converted into energy. So when I reduce my mass, or I reduce the external identity, then the inner energy flows. To the extent that I renounce or let go of my external identity, to that extent, the energy of the soul flows exponentially. So principles of science and silence are similar.
The omelette.
And so the reason these principles of science is because by understanding those principles, we can solve problems. And so by understanding the principle of silence, I can solve the problems of the mind. Any problem. Any problem. And so my mind is my laboratory. So just like in science, we do a lot of experiments. And when we have experimented, then we understand a principle, and then we, discover things, new things, and create it. And in silence, to create experiments in silence, I need a laboratory. And so that laboratory is my mind. When I am in my laboratory, then within that, I can then create experiments. And that's what meditation is all about. That's what meditation is all about. I create experiments. Experiment is I try something and then I learn from it. Then I try something new, then I learn from it. So I try to explore and experience a part of myself, and then I learn something from it. And then I, based on that observation, then I create another experiment. And one thing when we were taught how to do experiments was to do an experiment and then to observe. And when I observe, then I can draw conclusions. And so here also, observation, to just observe, to observe my thoughts, not to absorb, but to just observe. So I go in the lab of my mind and I just observe my thoughts. Then I give a new thought, a thought of peace, I'm a peaceful being. And then I observe. And then I then give another. This is what meditation is. It's inner work in the lab of my mind. And so the more I do experiments, the more I learn about myself. And the more I learn about myself, the more then I grow. And all of this, experiments are conducted in silence. So the first step is to be silent. And then I go inside my mind, the lab of my mind, and then I do this inner work. This is a scientific study about meditation and how it actually impacts the brain. It says meditation can help balance your brain hemispheres. So before and after. So normal person, and then after 15 minutes, and then after 25 minutes. So a normal person says unbalanced brainwave patterns with weak function, prone to anxiety, depression, and weakened mental health. And after a few minutes of meditation, then it balances both the hemispheres of the brain, allowing them to work in synchronization. And the result is neurocommunication of thoughts and responses multiply, resulting in a better performing, more integrated system, optimizing both mental and emotional health. So the left and the right. Meditation works to balance both of them. So research says that meditation doesn't just focus your brain, it alters it through neuroplasticity. So it really alters the brain itself. It's like the left and the right brain. So the left is more logical, the right is more creative. And there is balance and harmony experienced when both are working together. Both are working together. And as a matter of fact, children, the way they work is they both, the hemispheres function together. And the more we grow up, the more we are either leaned towards the left or the right. So when we are balanced, completely balanced, then it's as if the perspective is that we see life as a game. So children always see everything as a game. They will make a game out of anything and then play. So in the same way, the attitude when both the hemispheres are in balance is that everything is a game. And then I enjoy everything. I don't take anything seriously or personally. I keep on enjoying it. So meditation in silence, this automatically happens. Because the soul becomes the anchor then. And then everything is in balance. If the soul is not in the seat, then everything is off balance. That's what it's called, when we talk about self-sovereignty or ruling my inner world. It's just this, to just come into balance again. There is a research about this, how brain and how meditation affects the brain. So maybe if you give me a couple of minutes, just play that video, watch it together.
Thousands of years, people have practiced meditation for spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being. But from a scientific perspective, how exactly does meditating affect your body? Does it really do anything? It all starts in the brain. During meditation, brain scans see increased activity in regions directly correlated with decreased anxiety and depression, along with increased pain tolerance. The default mode network, in particular, is activated when one's mind is at rest and not focusing on the outside world, and has been found to improve memory, self-awareness, and goal setting. Want to be more caring to your friends and family? When scientists compared the brains of Buddhist monks to new meditators, they found the region of the brain associated with empathy to be much more pronounced in the monks. It also literally changes your brain waves, and we can measure these frequencies. Meditators have higher levels of alpha waves, which have been shown to reduce feelings of negative mood, tension, sadness, and anger. And if that wasn't enough, it also physically changes our brain shape and size. Studies found that after 8 weeks of a meditation program, gray matter was more dense in areas associated with learning, memory processing, and emotion regulation. And yet the amygdala, which deals with stress, blood pressure, and fear, had decreased gray matter. When we look at the entire body, not only do we see decreased blood pressure, but it can also increase the variability of your heart rate. And while this may sound harmful, it actually plays a critical role in properly transporting oxygen and carbon dioxide throughout your body. Think you're getting sick? In a study where both meditators and non-meditators were given the flu virus, meditators were able to produce a greater number of antibodies and had increased immune function. If we go a little deeper, we can even see changes on a cellular level. Your chromosomes have protective protein complexes called telomeres, which help reduce damage to your DNA and lower cell death. And a shortened telomere length has been linked to several diseases such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and cancer. Amazingly, when cancer survivors completed a meditation program, their bodies showed significant increases in telomere length. It's believed that psychological intervention, particularly decreasing stress, has a direct effect on the enzyme telomerase, which has been shown to counteract shortening by adding DNA to the shrinking telomeres. Of course, meditation is not a substitute for other medical advice or a healthy lifestyle. We don't want you leaving this video thinking it will cure cancer. But much like hitting the gym can grow your muscles and increase your overall health, it seems that meditation may be a way of working out your brain with extra health benefits. And since your brain controls, well, all of you, why not relax and say, everyone?
Yeah, I really liked it. Said meditation is like a gym of the mind, a working out of the brain. So I'm just working out, and then even I think it was so interesting. Even immune system and response to any virus also is much better when we are meditating. So how it's just amazing how silence has such a big impact, not only on the mind but also on the body through the brain. So there are many studies that are conducted. It's like alpha waves, beta waves, theta waves, delta waves. So they measure the frequency of the waves. And so they say when we meditate, then we have, the frequency is much smaller. Then we are able to function from a very deep, relaxed, easy state of mind. And that makes everything very easy. Easy. So it's called neuroplasticity. This whole study and how meditation affects the brain. So living in balance, living everything as a game. Like today we were discussing about having an intellect that is able to discern between what is a wasteful thought and what is a pure elevated thought. And even to discern, I need balance. When the mind is balanced, when there is no bias, then I can discern. When there is any bias, then I cannot discern. And so through meditation, through experience of that silence, then we can easily have that balanced state of mind all the time. And that's why when children are said, children are the best yogis because they don't have any baggage. They're easily able to be in balance and enjoy life. Mm. Mm. This says, listen, to listen, silent and content. And the image is what we were discussing this morning of a swan, and to make mind like a swan. A swan is very silent. And because a swan is silent, it can listen. So an intellect that is silent is able to listen. It's able to listen. Listen to my inner calling. And because I'm able to listen to my inner calling, it's like there are no desires left of the mind. And then the mind feels content. Everything we do in our life is to experience contentment. And so it's about even balancing of the two hemispheres of the brain is like getting into a balanced and content state of mind. And when I feel content, then today we were also discussing it is about then you can help others to get to that stage of feeling content. It's like then just an image, being an image of contentment, or a jewel of contentment. In Hindi it's called Santushta Mani. So it all starts from silence. When there is silence, then I can listen. When I have listened to myself, I feel content. And then it was beautiful how, like, from intellect, then it goes to attitude, then it goes to vision, then it goes to words. So when the intellect is able to discern, so the soul is in balance, then the intellect is able to function, discern, and then the attitude becomes benevolent attitude, and that attitude to benefit everyone, and that creates a loving vision towards everyone. And then the words are filled with power and upliftment. There are no waste. So silence, just silencing, balancing. So silence, essence, presence, balance, all connect. Says, listen with a silent mind to imbibe. Like also this morning we were discussing, there's a journey from listening to imbibing. Imbibing means to inculcate or to become embodiment of what I am listening. We listen to a lot of positive things. We listen to a lot of sacred things, but then how much am I able to hold it? So to imbibe means to hold it. So the way to imbibe is to listen with a silent mind. So that's why even in the morning, whenever we listen to the morning messages, it's like when I have silenced my mind, and when I listen, then it goes in. Then I'm able to hold on to it. So silence creates that power to hold the essence. To hold the essence. So silence allows me to be in balance, be in anchor, and also to hold, to imbibe. It's like when I'm silent, then everything just goes in. If mind is not silent, then there is a noise there that dilutes what I am listening. Says, God speaks in the silence of the heart. So when I've reached the stage of silence, balance, holding the essence, then this next stage comes. And this next stage is when we start to hear the divine. So God speaks in the silence of the heart. And the heart feels silent. So the heart feels silent when there are no more desires left in the mind. Then the heart feels silent. And a silent heart is then able to listen to the Supreme, to the Divine. Let me create a moment and just invite the presence of the Divine. Just having this feeling of contentment in my heart. Thus, by understanding who am I, a being of light, a spiritual being, and who do I belong to, is the Divine, the Supreme. Everything else is expansion. Then I begin to listen to the sacred sound, sacred whisper of the Divine. I let go and let God. When the heart is full, I become content. And I surrender to the higher power. So meditation is then just silently listening to the Divine. And when I come into that awareness and consciousness of listening, then it's beautiful, because what does God have to share? What does God share? Mhm. And God's expressions and ways are so beautiful, innocent, unique, deep, and loving. And so there is nothing else but love that is that the heart feels. This is a beautiful quote by Rumi. It says, "Silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation." The language of God is silence. So when I am silent, then I can connect with God. And then there's a communication. The language is through silence. There's nothing physical. There's nothing physical. Just a silent communication. All else is poor translation. We're just trying to translate, to come into words. But recharging happens in silence. So when I've completely detached, gone beyond, I'm able to then listen to God. And then we experience a state of mind which is called sweet silence. Sweet silence. We hear this a lot in our messages. Sweet silence. This is a silence filled with sweetness. Sweetness of the divine love. Sweetness of God's love. And so, sweetness, the Hindi word is madhurta, sweet. Sweetness is the highest virtue, and it comes towards the end. It's like the highest level, sweetness. And so when I reach that stage in meditation, then it is completely beyond the physical, and then the silence is very sweet and uplifting, nurturing. So in that silence is where the soul completely, fully belongs. One is to long and one is to belong. To long is to, still aspire for, but to belong is when the heart feels completely saturated. And that's a very beautiful feeling to hold on to experience. And that can only happen in a deeper state of meditation. Feel completely, I belong. And then when I feel I belong, then I feel everyone belongs to me. Like today we were discussing in this message that when you belong to the divine, then you feel you belong to everyone in this world, all the souls in this world. And then there's no feeling of whether someone did this or not, whether they had non-benevolent attitude or not. But the mind is constantly filled with feelings of mercy, benevolence, love, compassion, kindness. And then the mind operates as if it is just a channel of God's energy flowing in this world. Sweet silence. There's another word that is called dead silence. So dead silence is when I have become, so to say, completely dead to the physical. Means I don't hold on to anything of the external world. So dead silence, and then sweet silence. And it says switching off to connect. Generally, we say switch on to connect. But in silence, we switch off to connect. So I switch off. Today we were discussing that there is a switch, the switch of awareness. And so we switch on or switch off. If the switch is not working properly, then the light also flickers. But when the switch works properly, then it's just a matter of switch, pressing it on and off. And so it says switch off to connect, means I go offline from the world outside and I become online and available. A different status, right? It's an online, available. And so I become available to listen to myself, to listen to the Supreme. So I am offline for the world outside and online, and then I feel I'm connected. It says being zero. We discussed about how whenever there is a mass or mass of ego, then there is influence that is experienced of the world outside. But when I practice being zero, means nothing. Nothing of the physical world belongs to me, like zero. When I multiply any number with zero, the answer is zero. So they say multiply all your problems with zero. It means I look at everything from the perspective of zero. So when I am in silence, I become zero, essence, zero. And then when I am zero, then we use these words, expressions, incorporeal, egoless, voiceless. It's like incorporeal is without a form, physical form, or just a point of light. No physical form, just a point of light. And that allows me to become egoless. No ego. There's no mass. Nothing of the gravity can pull me. Egoless. And then viceless. There's no energy of vice. Vice comes from desires. But when there's no desire, then there's no vice. Because then the mind is content. Zero. So in silence, I become zero. Zero. Om Shanti. Thank you. Let's just take a moment to experience being zero. Just nothing but silence. I let go all limited identities, limited ordinary thoughts. And I feel that I am a zero. A zero is just a being of light with zero attachments, zero needs, zero desires. And because I have zero desires, I'm full. Nothing of the physical world can take away my peace, can do anything to me. In this moment, I am full. And being a zero enables me to emerge the hero within. The hero is the actor, the soul that is pure, divine, like a swan, detached and loving, always playing with the jewels. I go beyond the physical into the land of silence. Dimension of silence. And in this dimension, I experience the presence of the divine. As a loving, caring friend. And I feel sweet silence. I listen to the divine. In this listening, I feel content. I feel present. And feelings of benevolence towards all souls of the world. My mind becomes essenseful, balanced. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Thank you for your time and presence, and we'll open up, and please feel free to share your thoughts, inspirations. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Hari. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Very beautiful class, and as always, and very nice. I like the analogy how you've drawn with science, and typically, or I would say intuitively, sometimes we feel, or we used to feel when we were studying science and engineering, that anything that we can see is real, and the soul isn't, we don't see that. And so I've seen in science a lot of like disbelief towards spirituality, and what we can experiment with and what we can come to a conclusion on is what we want to believe. But this is beautiful how it is so closely connected, or it might be, a science beyond the science. So it's very nice, very uplifting class. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice. Yeah.
Saurabhai, hello.
Hello, Krishna Bhai.
It is really a great presentation, and you have given us a lot of understanding of the concepts and the correlation between loss of science and silence. And really, in the laboratory, wherein we do a lot of experimentation, observation, and then inferences. And really, it is a great presentation. And really, we gained a lot from your presentation. And we have to cut off from outside and connect to inside. This is the theme which you have taught us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. Thank you, Bhai. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
Shanti.
I really liked it how you connected this lesson with the class in the morning. You do that every time, so I really appreciate that. It's really beautiful the way you've connected all these mornings Baba's class with this one. Very nice. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Yeah, it's just the message is so like it's like the way Baba, remind us. It's amazing and unique, and how everything is so connected.
It's the way you say it, that's how you can connect it. So you see everything so clearly. And the way you explain it is very well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabhai. I
Shanti
agree
is
with
with the band.
Yeah, Om Shanti. I agree with Rekha Ben. I had the same feeling, and same that you explained today's Murli point. And it was so much, it fit in so right here. And I also like the switching off to connect. In silence, I go offline from the world outside. And I become available to listen to myself inside. So I am online when I'm inside. I really like that one too. Thank you so much. And the rest of it also. But I have taken all the notes, literally writing down each and every word you spoke.
Oh,
thank you, brother.
Thank you, Smita. Appreciate it. Smita, the word itself is smriti, right? Smriti means switch, awareness, right? So,
yeah, this is, you always want to connect. Thank you, and give back. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate what you do, brother.
Thank you so much.
Om Shanti Sarabhai. This was really good. Yes. So I really like the slide. Actually, all slides, everything, all are so important, and it's like basically we need to reach on that. I feel like we need to reach on that silence to connect with Baba. And the slides which I really love is silence is not an absence, but it is a presence. So that's really turned the knowledge, everything like so clear. It's the presence of being. Then we can listen, imbibe, connect with Baba, and and also to get into silence, we need to disconnect to connect. So switch off to connect. So it's and also the Murli points from today. Actually, it's very at the end you have so the slide that is Nirakari, Nirankari, and Nirvikari. So Baba has mentioned that in Murli today. When we have Nimitta Bhav, then we automatically get that. So and also Holy Hans, one of the slide is Holy Hans, right? Your slide, and it is from Murli too. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you, Sarabhai. I really like that video, and then you have made the medical things added on the research, the importance of meditation, how it connects the two hemisphere of the brain, and simultaneously we can work together in harmony. Being in medical field, I feel that's very, very, very good slide. I would love to watch this video once you upload in Brahma Kumaris, Indianapolis. It's really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kusumben. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Shanti, Kiran.
साइलेंस और साइंस में मतलब जो आपने कंपैरिजन किया, मुझे साइंस तो नहीं ज्यादा समझ आती, पर हाँ साइलेंस का है कि इसकी पावर को कैसे इंक्रीज करना है. तो आई ऑलवेज गो बैक टू जैसे मुरली के पॉइंट होते हैं, जैसे होली हंस बाबा ने कहा कि होली हंस बनो. तो हमने मतलब कल्याण में भी कल्याण हम ढूंढते हैं और दूसरों के लिए शुभ भावना रखते हैं. तो will that be increasing my silence power if I practice those, that bhav and स्वभाव and then निराकारी, निरहंकारी and निर्विकारी, अगर मैं इन पॉइंट्स पे ज्यादा मतलब अपना करती हूँ तो will I be able to increase the silence power? क्योंकि साइलेंस पावर जब तक साइलेंस स्टेबल नहीं रहती, ज्यादा देर तक नहीं रहती, तब तक how can I connect to Supreme until I have that longer period? Will that help me to increase the longest power, time to stay in silence?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that. Again, it just whatever you shared beautiful points. It's like the laboratory of mind, and I start to experiment and experience, the daily points and anything that touches the intellect or the heart, and then trying to go deeper into it. And one thing I've always felt is the more we personalize whatever we are listening, and we create our own thoughts on it, then it allows us to understand it on a deeper level, and also kind of trying to understand the connection between one point and the other point. That also allows us to then go deeper. It's like just like a digging ground, so going deeper, deeper, deeper. And then silence is where we feel the water has now started to come up. So we dig deeper, deeper, because silence is already there underneath each one of us. And then the more we dig deeper from the external consciousness, go deeper, deeper, and then suddenly we see the fountain emerge. So that's what, as you beautifully said, all these points, these points are like triggers or drills that we can go deeper into. And then that allows us to, once we have reached that stage, then from there we are able to just express, experience and then express it. So to explore is to go within, and then to experience, and then to express. So explore, experience, and express.
Thank you, Sarabhai. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Saurabh, it was a great presentation, very nicely done, and very thought-provoking. And I cannot add too much to it, but just like to say one thing that we discussed the law of conservation of energy. So I think that we can also say that when our thoughts are not stray, basically, then all the energy is conserved, and that energy can be transformed directly into the silent part of it and connect better with the almighty divine. So that is the law of conservation of energy, that we can put all the energy connecting back to the divine. So
very nice. conserve the energy. Very nice. Excellent.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Can we say that when we go in silence, we are able to hear and listen to the nuances, subtle nuances in between? Like when you were explaining and there was silence, we used to hear the tick-tock of the clock. Right? So similarly, when we go in silence and we are able to understand what is going on, the way Baba always says, go in the laboratory and isolate yourself, make your life laboratory, means apply Gyan, whatever knowledge Baba is giving. So when we go in silence, we are able to understand why and what is happening in a more subtle way. So I think that is like
beautiful. Yeah. Very nice. I like that. Yeah. We are able to then make sense of everything. Yeah.
The way Kiran Ben said right now, will those points help? Yes, definitely they will help. Because the mind is not having those disturbances when we sit in silence. Otherwise, we are not able to sit only. That is the first requirement, that you need to sit at a particular place. You need to concentrate. You need to tell your mind and intellect to be quiet, not in that sense, but less number of and less frequency of thoughts will help us to do that. I feel so.
Very nice.
One more question. To have pure feeling of service, Baba's service, is that ego? It's like, for example, मुझे ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है, बाबा की सर्विस सेवा करनी है. So will that be considered ego or?
Like you said, I think it's like when I put the divine in front and just feel that it's enabling me to do whatever is happening, then there is no like an identity. Ego comes when there is an identity that gets created, which is not based on the truth of who I am. Any temporary identity, maybe like when we have a service project or anything, then there is a role that is given. And then, but when the role of service becomes important or becomes something I relate to myself with, then that could create some sort of feelings of, just getting influenced or, being offended or hurt or any kind of such things. So that could result in an ego of, in a way. But then the more I just connect, as you said, to the pure service, so which means just to work on myself, to be available for the Supreme to use the intellect, then there's no identity that gets created. It's like I'm operating in the soul space all the time. Then that is the real service.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's like slightest of identity. If I take my self-respect from any role in service, then that creates ego. Yeah, it's like, but so that's the mass. It's like, so the gravity then will pull it or will experience a force. But if there is no identity that gets created, then I'm free. Then I'm free. But yeah, it's very subtle thing that happens. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Om Shanti, Saurabh.
Om Shanti.
Yeah, it was a very good session, and I like the idea of switch on and off, and like it was in the Murli, and with the example of swan. So they swan always, in ocean there are so many things, but he only chose the pearl. So like we have Maya outside in the physical world, but we have to, look at the soul, supreme soul. I like the example of that. Thank you, Saurabh.
Thank you. Very nice.
Saurabh, can we say becoming hero to zero and again zero to hero?
Yeah, that's true. Becoming zero and then becoming
hero.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Any other thoughts? I think Stajena wrote, when I am in the presence of the essence of sweet silence, I am in balance and feel the benevolence of the innocence of being children, where both sides of the brain are in harmony of the mind laboratory. Very nice. Beautifully written like a summary. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, bringing it to the full circle, to sit in silence and connect with the higher power. Nice. Yeah, nice to hear. Any other thoughts anyone would like to share? Yeah, anyone, feel free to turn on your cameras if possible. Whoever is able to. It's nice to see Neeta Ben. Neeta ji, are you there? Nice to see you.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Good to hear your voice. Yeah. Good.
Yes, yes, this was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
We are doing good. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
I like that slide. Taking time to do nothing often brings everything into perspective. कुछ नहीं करो, बैठे रहो, सब समझ में आ जाएगा.
Very nice. Great. Then we have Sonam Ben. Hello. Welcome. Shanti. Are you still there? Hi, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Any other thoughts? We have, what else do we have? Did we hear from everyone? We have Swati Ben. Hello, Swati Ben. She's joined us from India.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. You want to
Yeah,
share
wonderful,
thoughts?
wonderful session. And I believe the session was really an eye opener and a kind of like 1 hour is really less, to know more, to understand more. So maybe, it will be really great if you can have a one more session on this where, you share more of your thoughts on this, because it's really, I felt like और ज़्यादा सुनते वो और अच्छा लगता है.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
And then it's really wonderful to be silent and then listen and then understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Mm. 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 Right. And we have Nikhil. Is that Nikhil Bhai? Hello, Nikhil Bhai. Or we have Sonia Ben. Or we also have Naresh Bhai, Rajesh Ben from India.
Sorry, I have one more thing to share, Swati
Yes.
here.
Yes.
So when you were, showing those meditation, how meditation increases the stability, or when the soul is not in its place, and there were the 3 diagrams of the brain, right? So it really gave an understanding, because many of the times it happened that me, I'm angry. Sometimes I'm not feeling good about things. I'm feeling stressed, or then I'm not able to understand what's happening wrong. So what's happening wrong is basically I'm not on my seat. So once I'll come back to my seat, everything will be normal. So I need to understand that. I don't have to get into that feeling कि ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है. ऐसा इसलिए हो रहा है क्योंकि मैं अपनी सीट पर नहीं हूँ. मैं अपनी स्थिति में नहीं हूँ. जैसे बाबा कहते हैं आप अपनी स्थिति में स्थित नहीं रहते हैं तो परिस्थितियां आती हैं. तो हम कह देते हैं परिस्थितियां ज्यादा हैं, लेकिन क्योंकि हम स्थिति में ही नहीं है जब तक आत्मा अपनी सीट पर नहीं होगी. So it's just not said, but it's been proved in science कि हाँ, अगर आप सोल अगर सीट पर नहीं है, then things are not okay.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, very nice. That's true. That's the essence, as you said. Yeah. If I am in my seat or not. Yeah. Right. Nice. Good. Very nice. Great. And yeah, Naresh Bhai, Rajesh Bhai, you wanna?
ओम शांति.
ओम शांति.
अच्छा क्लास था. मतलब एक रियल है कि सच्चाई की जब हम अपने आप को जीरो समझ लेते हैं और साइलेंस में चले जाते हैं तो ऑटोमेटिक मतलब जो भगवान जो परमात्मा है जो गॉड से बात कर सकते हैं, तभी हम गॉड की बातों को समझ सकते हैं. और जब अगर हम अपना बोलते रहते हैं, चाहे मन से बोलें या मुंह से बोलें, तो फिर वो गॉड की आवाज हमको सुनाई नहीं देती है. तो ये तो है कि अगर हम जब साइलेंस में रहेंगे तभी गॉड की आवाज हमको सुनाई देगी और तभी हम अपने डिसीजन ले पाएंगे और जो प्रॉब्लम्स है वो भी अपना खत्म हो जाएंगी. क्योंकि जब साइलेंस में चले जाएंगे तो अपने आप तो जब भी कोई तूफान आता है तो उसका इलाज यही है कि इंतजार करना जब तक वो ठंडा नहीं हो. जब अगर तूफान हम कुछ भी करेंगे तो नुकसान हमारा ही होगा. जब वो तूफान ठंडा हो जाएगा, हम साइलेंस में चले जाएंगे तो अपने आप सब प्रॉब्लम्स खत्म हो जाएंगे. तो साइलेंस में और अपने आप को जीरो समझना इसलिए है कि अगर जीरो समझेंगे तो बड़ी से बड़ी ताकत भी हमको कुछ नहीं कर पाएगी, हिला नहीं पाएगी। जैसे बहुत नदियों की लहरें होती हैं तो बड़े बड़े पेड़ों को वो ले जाते हैं बहा के, लेकिन घास को नहीं निकाल सकते। तो घास को क्यों निकाल सकते? वो जीरो की तरह से रहती है, मतलब वो एकदम जमीन में लेट जाएगी पैरेलल, कोई प्रोटेस्ट ही नहीं करेगी वो, और जो प्रोटेस्ट करेगा उसको वो उखाड़ ले जाते हैं। तो उसी तरह अपने जीरो समझते हैं, अपने को जीरो समझ के रहें तो कोई भी बड़ी से बड़ी परिस्थिति हमारा कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ पाएगी। बहुत अच्छा है कि मतलब जीरो रहें, ईगो लेस रहें, वॉइस लेस रहें, और कोई भी मतलब किसी तरह का भी नाम मान शान और साइलेंस में रह के। आज का बहुत अच्छा लगा ये। अच्छा, थैंक यू सौरभ भाई।
थैंक यू। शांति।
ओम शांति सौरभ भाई।
शांति राजेश।
वेरी नाइस क्लास, क्योंकि जितना हम साइलेंस में रहते हैं उतने ही खजाने हम प्राप्त करते हैं, और जब परमात्मा से बात हो सकती है तो एवरीथिंग इज पॉसिबल। तो आज का समय चल रहा है परेशानियों का, वो परेशानी फिर परेशानी नहीं लगेगी, क्योंकि हर बात का फिर सॉल्यूशन मिल जाता है और आप प्रसन्न रहते हो, प्रश्न खत्म हो जाते हैं। लाइफ में जो भी कुछ मिल रहा है वो उसमें फिर संतुष्टता आ जाती है। और बहुत अच्छा था, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सौरभ भाई। हाँ, ओम शांति।
Thank you. Shanti. Nice. Did we hear from Sister Joy or Om Shanti, Sister Joy?
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Yes.
Would you like to share?
Yeah, for me, gosh, there's never not been a time when I've needed something, and then I go into the silence. Whatever it is that I need is always given. Always, no matter what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's always a choice. Like, we can still know that we need to go into the silence because we hear that, we have these urges within us, like we know what we need to do, but we just don't do it. But when we do it, what is needed is always given and more. And just this morning I was talking about my concern, my not feeling at ease with what's going on today and the way, Trump, that whole thing. Well, what's interesting is that that today's topic kind of led to this, and I talked about that this morning, it was 3 years ago when I was watching TV and watching him. I told myself on that day, I'm like, okay, every time I listen to him, it makes me feel awful. And I was still in depression over losing my son. And I had been hearing for about a year, like, I need to go into meditation. But after I lost my son, it was very hard for me to be in meditation or just be in the silence, because it was just so painful. I would just cry. So we would just, so we have a tendency to want to avoid that calling or that urging to go into the silence. But on that day, I said, okay, I turned him off. I went into the meditation, and that was the meditation on that day in the silence where my soul spoke to me and healed me completely over the next 3 years until now, that I'm a completely changed person. So Om Shanti.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. Om Shanti. Thank you. Great. Saroj Ben, Om Shanti. Would you like to
Om Shanti. Om Shanti, brother.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, brother.
Om Shanti. Nice to hear you. Om Shanti. Nice. Great. Just a few blessings. 1 second.
Yes, any passage.
Question.
Hello,
This is-
brother Saroshit.
Yes,
I
sir.
have one question.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, I learned a lot, and experiment you told us, but experiencing is something different. So I have to do a lot of experiment. But one question, we are learning from each other, all brother and sister. So one question I just got, that the soul has to be on its seat, or we have to realize the soul? I have to realize that I am soul, or my soul has to be on seat?
Very nice. And, the moment I realize, it automatically puts me on my seat. It's like when I've realized, then I'm operating from the awareness of the soul. And that what the seat actually means to be aware that I am a spiritual being in this physical costume.
Oh, that is it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Seat is something which, just like this chair, so it holds me. It's like I'm stable, so I don't move here and there. So to be seated on the seat means, in a way, to just be stable in that awareness and not to, move here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for clearing that up.
Thank you.
You taught us a lot today.
Very neat.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot. Thank you. Thank you very
learning.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so this is a blessing. This is Krishna Bhai. Your actions are a source of inspiration that brings about a change in others.
Thank you very much.